Hey guys, I see that some of you guys are struggling with a couple of the standards, so I'm going to give you another opportunity to earn some points towards your test category there. So before we do that, I want to go over a few questions and just kind of clear up some stuff and hopefully help you guys understand um, some of these questions. All right, so this question says a company sells mugs for a price of $10 each. In 1 month, the company sells 1,000 mugs. After doing research, the company realizes that for every $2 price increase per mug, it will sell 5 fewer mugs per month. The expression 1,000 minus 5x times 10 plus 2x represents the situation. Which statement is true? All right, so the first one says the term 2x represents the number of mugs sold. So if we look back up here, it says there were 1,000 mugs sold. So the 2x does not represent that. This says the term 2x represents the price of each mug. Well, here it says the price is $10. And down here it says that they're going to raise the price by $2 per mug. So 2x does not represent the price of each mug. The term 10 plus 2x represents the number of mugs sold. Again, the number of mugs is going to be 1,000 plus or minus something. So that does not represent the number of mugs sold. The term 10 plus 2x represents the price of each mug. All right, so if we look up here, the price is $10. If they do a price increase, it would be $2 times each mug. If X represents the number of mugs, 10 plus 2X would represent the price of each mug. So D, or the last choice here, would be the correct answer for that question. So basically you have to just look at the problem and kind of logically put pieces together to see what each term represents or each part of the expression. All right, so let's look at the next one. The pressure that a particular object exerts on the floor depends on a gravitational force, F, and the area of its base according to the equation. Pressure equals force divided by pi r squared. What is the shape of the area of the base of the object? Okay, all right, so if we've got force divided by pi r squared, we're trying to figure out what is the area of this shape. All right, so we know a square would be like length times width. A rectangle would also be length times width, or this one would be side squared, I guess, but it's still length times width. It just would have equal sides. An oval, don't really know the formula for that, but a circle, if you remember, has to do with pi r squared. Pi, 3.14 approximately, times your radius squared. So that would be in relation to a circle. So for this question, the shape of the area of the base would be a circle. And we should know that because circles have a radius, and they have a diameter, and anytime you're dealing with pi r squared, you probably have something to do with a circle. You should have learned about probably area and perimeter and stuff in middle school. All right, so a deli sells meat and cheese by the pound. The expression 7.99 plus 5.99 represents the total cost of M pounds of meat and C pounds of cheese. So M right here represents meat, C right here represents cheese. Which statement is true? So it says each pound of cheese cost $5.99, okay? $5.99 per pound, that seems right, okay, because it says cheese by the pound. So we're going to say this one probably is a good answer, but let's read on. Each pound of meat is $5.99. That's not true because it's $7.99 right here. The total cost of C pounds of cheese is $7.99. So that's not true because we're not looking at the total. And this one says the total cost for M. So for this question, Each pound of cheese costs $5.99. That is your best answer here. Okay, the next question says drag the correct value into the space provided in order to complete the sentence. All right, so in this sentence, -6 times 3x plus 2 equals 4. And then all you have to do is fill in the blank. All right, so forget about this. How would you solve this? You would have to use distributive property. So -6 times 3x and -6 times 2. So that's what's going to go in the two blanks. You can see that the equals 4 is still here. So all they're wanting to do is see that you can do distributive property. So -6 times 3x is -18x would go in the first block. -6 times 2 is -12. -12 would go in the second block. Now, if this had a minus sign, it would just be 12. But this is a negative times a positive. So since that's a plus, we know we're adding a -12 there. Okay, so that's all you would do for that one. All right, the next question says, Arturo, I think that's right, Arturo has begun solving the equation shown in the box. Which property can be used in his next step? Okay, so you see here he did distributive property, then he subtracted 3x from both sides, then he subtracted 5 from both sides, and what is he going to do in the next step? So -4x equals -8. The next step would be to divide both sides by -4 because you're trying to solve for x. To get x by itself means you would solve. So that would be division property of equality. So you've got distributive, subtraction, division, and addition. The next step would be divide by -4. So division would be the correct answer there. All right, so this one says a student is solving the equation. The table shows the steps of the solution. All right, so if you go through this, it says in which step does the student make a mistake and why? So you have to distribute here. So 5/3 times 2x, multiply the 5 times 2 would give you 10/3. And then 5 times -6 is -30, divided by 3 is -10, so that's correct. Bring down the 18. 2/3 times x is 2/3 x. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Bring down the -4. So everything looks correct in step 1. All right, then what? Then it looks like they combine like terms. So -10 plus 18 is +8. So that is correct. The next step, they went to the other side and did the 2 plus -4, which is -2. So that is also correct. Everything else has just been brought down to the next step. So far, everything looks good. All right, from here, +8, they subtracted 8 from both sides, which made this -10. So again, this still looks correct. Now they're going to subtract 2/3 x from both sides. So if you subtract 2/3 x from both sides, 10 minus 2 is 8. So 8/3 x equals -10. That is still correct. Now for this one, they're getting rid of the fraction. So they're going to multiply each side. It looks like they multiplied each side by the denominator of 3. So if you multiply this side by 3, you left with 8x. Multiply -10 by 3, you get -30. So still everything looks correct. Then we have 8x equals -30, and you would divide both sides by 8 to get x. Now that's where they made the mistake. It looks like they multiplied instead of divide. So this would be a mistake between 6 and 7. All right, the next question says, consider the graph. Which units are used to represent the rate of change shown in the graph? Okay, so we know this is our x-axis. This is our independent variable. So it's the number of hours on the x-axis. And our y-axis, our y, depends on the x. So our y-axis is in dollars, earnings in dollars. So it says which units are used to represent the rate of change shown in the graph. So you can see the more hours you drive, the more dollars you spend, okay? So it says a hybrid SUV gets 32 miles per gallon on a highway driving at a constant 55 miles per hour. At this rate, how many gallons per hour does the hybrid SUV use? Okay, so I think this is two different questions. I probably didn't copy the whole question. All right, so let's go back to this question. So this one says consider the graph. Here we have dollars per hour. So for this one, you're always going to do the rate of change would be y's over x's. Remember, it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So it's the difference in y's over the difference in x's. So it's going to be dollars per hour. All right, so the next question says a hybrid SUV gets 32 miles per gallon on a highway driving at a constant 55 miles per hour. At this rate, how many gallons per hour does the hybrid SUV use? All right, again, we're going to do, this is driving at a constant rate, so it's gallons per hour. So it's going to be 55 over 32 gallons per hour, because you just take the numbers and again, you're just dividing here. All right, for this next question, it's asking you to solve for R. So it says for this item, enter the answer in the space provided. The volume of a cylinder can be expressed as V equals pi r squared h, where r is the radius and h is the height of the cylinder. Use the tools provided to complete the formula for the volume of a cylinder when solved for the radius. So when you solve for r, that means you're trying to get r by itself. Right now, V is by itself. And my stylus pen is not working, so I'm going to try to use the mouse here. So I hope you can read this, but V equals pi r squared h. So the first thing you would want to do, we're trying to get r by itself, is divide by pi and h. And so when you do to one side, you have to do it to the other side because you want it to remain equal. So the pi cancels. And so we have this equals r squared. Now, how do you get rid of something squared? You take the square root of both sides. So since all of this was already here, you take the square root of everything. So just so you know, r would equal the square root of v over r squared. So anytime you're solving an equation, you're trying to get the variable that you're looking for by itself. All right. Let's look at one more question if we have time. All right, Mr. Ramirez writes the equation shown. He asks for students to solve the equation for y. Which student's response to Mr. Ramirez's question correctly? All right, so which one of these is correct way to solve for y? So you would subtract 8x from both sides first. Let's see if I can do that. So I've got negative 4. Wish I had my stylus pen. Sorry, guys. All right, negative 4y equals, if I subtract 8x from both sides, it moves it to the other side. I cannot combine the x with the number, so I still have plus 20 here. All right, now to finish this, I'm going to divide everything by negative 4. So if I divide everything by negative 4, I can see that it's going to be 2x. If I divide 20 by negative 4, That is -5. So Davis would be the correct answer here. All right, so I hope this helps you guys understand a little bit. If you have any questions, let me know.